In the headlines, mitigation experts work to enhance Dominica's disaster response mechanism ahead of the new hurricane season. A multi-million-dollar joint effort by China and Canada to help rebuild Dominica's schools. And the National Employment Program launched in the Marigot constituency. I am Andrea Louis with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
My friend used to love this beach.
My friend used to call here home.
But they had to leave it all behind.
Did your rejection make them go? They, like you, have a right to enjoy life here too.
HIV stigma drives people away. Live up, love, protect, respect.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners, Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more, smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Dominica is working to upgrade 3 key components of its disaster response mechanism as the 2018 hurricane season looms on the horizon. Julian Morris has more.
According to consultant at the Office of Disaster Management, Cecil Shillingford, communication, security and access were the 3 most severely compromised areas after Hurricane Maria, which need to be enhanced for the 2018 hurricane season. As regards communications, Shillingford says the telecommunication service providers are working to develop a more robust network around the country.
In terms of the communications, we have had several discussions with the service providers to ensure that they are as robust as can be, but they can only be so robust. You're talking about 185 miles an hour winds, category 5 plus, I call it. So you may not be able to get a tower that will withstand that. The government is looking at a telecommunications network, which we've been talking about for a little while, but we're receiving some equipment very shortly. And while antennas and so on will go down, what we're trying to do is it will be a system that you can put up quicker than a telephone system. So it's more based on two-way radio and ham radio. And the government is also seeking to invest in satellite phones, so we could have more satellite phones to where we can get messages outside and people can also call in.
The consultant says talks are also being held with overseas-based partners to strengthen Dominica's communication ability following a natural disaster.
We are talking to a number of other entities. I'm not sure if you know that during the storms of last year, Google provided a particular telecommunication system. It's balloons in the sky with equipment, and then you can work through them to get communications out there. So we have our director of telecoms engaged in discussions with Google and other entities. We are also putting in some VSAT, which will aid the communications.
Shillingford says discussions are also underway for beefing up the security aspect of things and finding alternative ways of gaining efficient access following a natural disaster.
In terms of the security, obviously the police will step up their game should something happen. And I'm not sure what we can do about access, because, you know, when you have all the debris we had from Maria, it's difficult to clear everything in one day. So, but from that standpoint, we are looking at having equipment strategically located around the island, so should anything happen, these equipment can quickly start cutting their way back into the city, and also some close around to be able to clear any debris or landslides or trees.
In other top stories, several schools are to be reconstructed with funds from the governments of Canada and China. The Salisbury Primary and Marigot's Wills Strathmore Stevens Primary Schools are among those to be rebuilt with $5 million from the government of Canada.
As you know, we have certain commitments to build new schools. So we're fixing some of the schools that have been affected. So we have placed a roof back on La Plaine, in Viecas and some other schools. You know, and Digicel is also helping us in the Cassie Bruce and Siniku area, and the Concord Primary School and the Lighthouse Primary School. But we intend to build a number of new schools. Yes. A number of new schools will be built. The Canadians, for example, have already committed to helping us build some schools. And they are, I believe, Dailies. The Canadians are $5 million. Canadian, we have put in the Mont John Primary School, the Granby Primary School, the Dailies Primary School, the Salisbury Primary School, and the Will Strathmore Stevens Primary School. That's from the Canadian government.
Skerritt said the government of China has committed $15 million for the high schools project.
The Chinese government has also agreed to finance some secondary schools, and I think some about $15 million. And we have submitted them about 7 schools, including the Goodwill Primary Secondary School, for complete reconstruction and so forth. But those schools certainly will begin next year, God's willing. But those schools will be built to withstand hurricane.
Prime Minister Skerritt spoke as a guest on Tuesday's Next Level program on Kyrie FM. Still on education, the Ministry of Education has benefited from an EC $65,000 donation of primary school books. On Wednesday, Harder Education, based in the United Kingdom, made a symbolic presentation of books at the Newtown Primary School. Representative of Harder Education said the company wanted to help after learning of the extensive damage to school property and material as a result of Hurricane Maria.
We at Harder Education feel very grateful to be able to do our part in the rebuild of Dominica by donating an estimate of £18,000 worth of school books to the students of Dominica. Harder Education, part of the Hachette Group UK, has been working with schools, teachers, and students for over 50 years, and as such, we consider ourselves partners with the Ministry of Education as we work towards a mutual goal of providing education to students to help equip them with the skills they need to progress and succeed.
Assistant Chief Education Officer Dr. Jeffrey Bless, while grateful for the donation, said the country's education structure is resilient as the children have been able to return to and settle into the education system post-Maria.
Without text material, it would be very difficult for students to accomplish the desired gains in the educational attainment. And therefore, it's important to us as a ministry that this contribution by Harder Education was presented. We have come a long way since Hurricane Maria as an education system. Our students have settled very well subsequent to Maria, and they deserve kudos for that. We have refocused as a system, and although the circumstances may not be as comfortable as we would have liked them to, but we have adjusted. And that is in itself resilience. So we can see that the education system is a resilient system.
In other news, agriculture authorities are working on making the cocoa sector more climate resilient as it tackles the threat of black pod disease. Dr. Lambert Motilal of UWI's Trinidad Cocoa Research Center says black pod is the most common and problematic disease affecting cocoa on island.
Black pod disease is caused by a microorganism that's present throughout the world. There's black pod in all cocoa growing regions. Black pod disease is a major threat, and is a major threat to all cocoa producing countries. In some countries, depending on the rainfall, which is one of the main agents of dispersal, you can get up to 100% loss. Right? The conservative estimate across the world is 40% to black pod disease.
The idea is to introduce new varieties of cocoa beans that are disease resistant.
Of agriculture on their visits through the estates, right, and with their years' expertise, can say with some degree that these particular trees may harbor some disease resistance genes, because these trees, as one of the guys was telling us yesterday, Mr. Franklin Joseph from the ministry, there are some trees that are next to each other. One tree is disease and one tree is not. So that tree is a tree that is important to recollect from as sole Dominican heritage that have resistance to disease. But we have to be very careful in the cocoa world that we plan for the future. This is the resilience. Whether it's climate resilience or disease resilience, it means we must mitigate for the future. We must bear in mind that no matter what we do, something could come in.
The frosty pod rot disease has devastated the fine flavor crop in Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. Dr. Motilal warns that Dominica also has to guard against this. He says his institution will work with the University of Reading's Department of Food and Nutritional Science to develop the country's cocoa sector.
The University of Reading, there are plants there that can be shipped immediately to Dominica, that the Ministry of Dominica can hold in a germplasm facility until they reach suitable age. For now, the Dominican people, the experts, to come in and do some breeding program, just like we did in Trinidad in the late 60s, and just like Grenada did, to improve the existing nature. So they incorporate natural genes for resistance from these plants that would develop in Costa Rica for frosty pod resistance into the own Dominican varieties, while at the same time not losing the fine flavor, as Professor Carroll said, from the Dominican varieties.
Head of the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, Curtis Augustus, says a matter pertaining to the redundancy of one Domlec employee is heading towards a tribunal which will hear and determine the outcome. Augustus says the employee in question was supposed to have been dealt with in accordance with the labor laws, but he was not.
We have some concerns as to the manner in which it was done. The management has the option of paying notice in lieu of their decision. That is, because you are going to be terminated for reasons of redundancy, they would have to give you notice consistent with your length of service. So if you are below 10 years, you would get 1 month's notice. And if you are above 10 years, then you get 2 months' notice. Now the management, it can pay in lieu of notice and terminate you effective immediately once they pay the notice. But therein lies a problem, because they are supposed to give the union 1 month's notice too. How they are going to pay the union in relation to that? What is the quantum they're going to pay? So this is the concern that we have, that they were going along that line, and they in fact signed an agreement where they would have given us notice of their intention to, and during that 1 month we would have the opportunity to discuss the scope and the application of the redundancy. We would look at the whole question of seniority of service, if there is one that is senior being asked to leave and those that are junior to him asked to remain.
In such a scenario, seniority of service would be the determining factor in all matters relating to layoffs, redundancy, and recall. He anticipates that the Ministry of Labour will soon bring the parties concerned together to resolve this matter. Augustus maintains that WAWU has always had a very good working relationship with Domlec, and that recent incident is a departure from that norm which must be challenged. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more items after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Thomas Enterprises on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth is proud to present its new line of automotive paints, Global Refinish System. Yes, a new line of automotive paints developed to protect and care for your vehicle. It's a compact system with excellent color matching capabilities, formulas with superior hiding performance, renowned durability tested to high standards. Come to Rudolph Thomas Hardware for all your automotive paint supplies. Call 445-5181 today.
Welcome back. The Prime Minister has told the UWP stronghold of the Marigot constituency that his Labour Party administration is with that community. This follows the launching of the National Employment Programme in Marigot on Tuesday. Before that, Prime Minister Skerritt sat in his office with the executive of the Marigot Village Council earlier this month, committing funds for the projects there. Among the financial commitments is $1.5 million for housing repairs in Marigot.
You see the massive launch of the NEP Marigot today, and I want to commend all of the folks who have availed themselves. Marigot is ours. Marigot is ours to keep clean, to keep beautiful, and to develop. And all I'm saying to Blue Marigot that the government is with you and continues to be with you. To helping you through your challenges. $1.5 million sent to the village council to help with fixing your roofs and fixing your homes. Once we're well on our way with spending this 1.5, an additional amount will be transferred to help more people in Marigot. $1.4 or so million was transferred to the village council of Coolibistry for Salisbury, Monratchet, and Coolibistry. Once we're able to consume most of this, an additional tranche will be sent across there. So we look out for everybody.
And the World Bank has long held the position that non-communicable diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes are becoming a chronic emergency in middle to low-income countries. Here again is Julian Morris.
NCDs present a particularly daunting challenge for middle and low-income countries because of the scale of the burden relative to their level of economic development. For some time now, NCDs have been tackled by treating symptoms with prescription drugs. But evangelist and motivational speaker Leah Shillingford believes NCDs are the result of a lack of love for God, self, and neighbor. Shillingford does not entirely rule out the role that the diet plays in NCDs. But she believes much of the NCDs can be traced back to one's spiritual condition. She believes while humans are made up of spirit, soul, and body, very little, if any, attention is given to the spirit.
The non-communicable for us here in Dominica mostly, besides diabetes, which is self-hatred, the others would come under separation of love of others. So, others would come from the relationships in the workplace, at home. Okay? It has to do with people. Love of others. And others means everybody. So, your relationship with your male partners, your husbands, relationship with your children, with your neighbors, as neighbors itself, at the workplace. Negative stress. This is where the third level comes. And that is why we have a lot of the workers suffering from this high blood pressure especially.
Leah Shillingford, who is also the General Secretary of the Dominica Amalgamated Workers Union, believes a healthy workforce would be in the best interest of the trade unions and the wider community. Channel 5 News pressed Shillingford for the basis for her position on the main cause of NCDs.
The source is the Bible. It's what God's word says. He says that we must love. And it has to do with obedience. So we must obey God's word. And the next one is that it has to do with our heart and relationships. Every human being on planet Earth is in a relationship. Every one of us were born out of a father and a mother. We have aunts and uncles, we have siblings, and we have children. So it's the human race, and it has to do with relationships. Okay? Many persons have died because of problems. The children are doing that, they worry. Fear comes in, and as a result of the fear, that's how they end up being sick, because it's their mind. What are they thinking? What are the suggestions that they're going through their mind? And they do not realize that as they're thinking, your thoughts are energy, and it releases poison, which goes to the trillion cells, and by extension to your heart. So it's your mind and your heart.
So these people suffering from NCDs, they don't need a medical doctor, they need a preacher?
They need someone who will speak to them and teach, actually. I don't want to say just teach, I want to speak, I want to teach them. Once they get the understanding, they will be healed.
She referenced an instance where she believes her counseling helped improve her client's health.
I remember a couple of years ago recently meeting a lady, well, I won't say the name, but from Bells, and maybe she can come and testify. She had high blood pressure for a whole year, and she told me she was on medication and the pressure never went down. And it was a Sunday after church. I did not have time to pray for her, but just to explain things to her. She was worried about her young adult children, and the fear of being concerned and worried about the children was what kept the pressure going up, and she could not get it down. But just explaining to her, didn't have time to pray for her, I had to run, but I gave her some advice. This is what you do. Just relax and let God deal with the children, because they're young adults, but you just relax. And I checked her. I remember calling her on the Tuesday. She told me she had taken her blood pressure on the Monday, and for the first time in 1 year, it was normal. As a result of that, because she was so fearful and the pressure was high, she was very grumpy, she was not friendly, and she didn't have many friends. I met her a couple months after, and she was so excited. She says everybody's telling her how her countenance has changed. So, I mean, and I can give you many, many others.
According to the World Bank, some of the socio-economic impacts of NCDs include reduced labor supply, reduced labor output, and increased public health expenditure.
To end the news, the headlines again. Mitigation experts work to enhance Dominica's disaster response mechanism ahead of the new hurricane season. A multi-million-dollar joint effort by China and Canada to help rebuild Dominica's schools. And the National Employment Program launched in the Marigot constituency. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access or pause the newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.